The manager had ordered a new engine from the war department in order to help keep the main line running, but he was having doubts over his own decision. "I haven't heard great things about these WD engines," the manager told Duke a few days prior to Smudger's arrival. "I fear this may not be the bargain buy the board think it will be."
"I understand completely, sir,"
said Duke gravely, and prepared for the worst. And he was right to do so. When the engine arrived, Duke found him very difficult to deal with. He was brash, cocky, and above all else, sure of himself. "You needn't tell me how to run this line," he drawled to Duke. "I ran through trenches and over bad track. I steamed through mud, rain, and snow without a hitch. Now, where's them darn trucks?"
"You just better be careful," Duke told him firmly. "You're not in a war zone now. There's no need to be boisterous."
But Smudger took no notice and puffed away up the line with an inane, broad grin across his smokebox.
"He won't last long with that attitude,"
Duke thought to himself.
"I can feel it in my frames."
His driver was skeptical of the new acquisition as well. "I know his type. They were built on the cheap for the war department to run on shoddily laid track in trenches and battlefields. Brought over from Wales by the score to use as disposables. They're certainly not built to last by any stretch of the imagination, and railways like ours will have to bear the brunt of them now that the war's over." Duke was quick to agree.
"Cheaply built, cheap quality, and cheaply scrapped if he doesn't mind himself."
And the suspicions of the old engine and his driver were right. By early afternoon, Smudger had come a cropper, and the manager was flustered. "That dratted new engine has gone and derailed completely," he told Duke. "We'll need a breakdown gang down the line on the double." Smudger was easily re-railed and hauled back to the shed, where Duke spoke to him severely about his actions.
"This won't do, young'un. You'll be on the passenger duties by my side, and we must keep the trains running efficiently. Mishaps like that would not suit his grace at all."
But Smudger took no interest whatsoever. "Listen, buddy, I do things my way. In the day if we derailed only once on a trip, it was an achievement." Duke groaned and said no more. He knew trying to get through to Smudger would be an uphill battle. A few weeks later, Duke was to take Smudger on the mountain road on a double-headed picnic train. As they prepared, Duke went through the motions of the operation with Smudger.
"Manager won't trust you unless you can show you're mature enough to work on passenger runs. Go slowly, pay attention, and keep your eyes on the road."
"Oh, give it a rest, you old grouch," scolded Smudger. "I am mature enough. While you were pottering about your sedentary little mining line, I was tearing through war-torn battlefields. This shouldn't be a problem. Stop fussing so much." Duke seethed with rage at Smudger's lamentable ignorance. However, he did calm down somewhat throughout the course of the run. But his good mood was soon cut short after they left the workstation. With a loud clang and the screech of metals, the train ground to a halt. Duke looked on in disbelief.
"I don't believe it."
Smudger stood tilted to the left side, derailed again. "Darned tracks! They aren't fit for a wagon to roll on."
"Somehow I managed to keep balance and composure."
"Yeah, well, you did push me, buddy. This is your fault. Now get me back on. Now!"
"I most certainly did not."
"Now, Duke," said his driver, "let's not waste time arguing with him. We'll need to re-rail him and get moving again. I'll speak with some workmen." Fortunately, Smudger wasn't too far gone, so the workmen had little trouble in jacking him up and allowing Duke to haul him back onto the rails again, with little thanks for his efforts. Gee, finally! Come on, don't hold back, Gramps, you'll make us late! Duke was livid. But despite the difficulties, they finished the run in good time, and the manager greeted them at the top station when they arrived. While Smudger was shunted out of the way briefly, he spoke warmly to Duke. You did very well there, Duke. That wretched engine could have seriously jeopardized today's service, but you did well to save the day. A proper thanks and my hat off to you. He wasn't so jovial with Smudger, however, and following the mishap on the mountain road, he was left at the back of the shed in disgrace. When he finally did re-emerge, he was to be relegated onto goods work only. He cannot be trusted with the passenger workings, the manager told his crew. He's far too rough and reckless. Hopefully this ought to do him some good.
You'd best be careful, young'un,
Duke advised.
I feel this may be your last warning.
Smudger wasn't convinced and dismissed Duke's comments. He was happy the way he was and didn't care what anyone else thought. But despite the change of duties, the problems persisted with constant spillages and frequent mishaps, which quite often meant derailment. The manager had put him on a service called the Horse and Cart, named so because it was a goods train that covered the entire line at a very slow pace. The manager's thinking behind this was that Smudger wouldn't have to rush, therefore reduce the likelihood of derailment. But this is Smudger we're talking about. Of course it didn't work out. Smudger continued to rush, and over a course of time, he became cockier still. Slow down, Smudger! Called his driver one day as he bumped and bounced down the valley. There's no rush! We can take these bends with ease! Too much delay shunting in stations, Smudger persisted. We're making up time. And plus, there's parts of the line where we can go fast. Yes, but not here! There's plenty of time left! Slow down! But Smudger paid no attention and continued rattling down the line. But trouble lay right around the next bend. A flock of sheep had broken out of a field and were now blocking the line ahead. Smudger's driver fought for control, but the speed of the train and weight of the trucks made things especially difficult. He braked hard, and Smudger jerked to the right. He had braked hard. A little too hard, by all accounts. The driver and a porter examined him, while the guard had went to get help from further down the line, returning later with Duke and the breakdown gang. They learned that the damage was worse than they had previously anticipated. Smudger's valve gear was badly damaged, and his wheels were further apart than they should have been. He had torn his frames in half. All that rocking and reeling, the driver griped bitterly. It's no wonder he fell apart. Probably the shoddiest piece of engineering I've ever had the displeasure to come across.
We all tried to help you see reason, Smudger,
Duke said firmly, with a twinge of sympathy, looking at Smudger lying forlorn and slumped.
But you wouldn't listen, and now look at where it's left you. Manager certainly won't be pleased when he finds out.
And indeed he wasn't. When Duke got him back to the works, he was waiting for them. "Now what to do with you?" he murmured, examining Smudger's shattered parts. Despite Smudger's incident, his cockiness had failed to subside. "Nothing that a little time in there won't fix, sir." Why am I the only one laughing? I'm afraid your recklessness has caused damage we can ill afford to repair, Smudger, the manager told him gravely. "But rest assured, we still have a place for you here, and I intend on making you useful." And the manager was as good as his word. The following day, Smudger was separated from his wheels and cab, and within days had found a new place at the back of the engine shed as a pumping engine. "We always needed better ventilation for the shed," said the manager proudly, "and now we won't have the problem of him derailing any longer either." In years to come, Duke would use Smudger's downfall as an example to young and unruly engines, as Falcon and Stewart knew all too well. But while he was glad, however, that Smudger was spared from a worse fate, such as Albert, he still knew he deserved the punishment he received. But more importantly, deep down, Smudger knew this too.